I'm just in shock right now. I've been doing this a long time, like over 45 years, and this is the first time I've ever won anything as an actor.
I'm not sure if you've noticed, but this most definitely feels like Demi Moore's moment. In a film and TV career that goes back more than 4 decades, she has been a part of so many incredible movies, has given so many wonderful performances, but never until now has the one and only Demi Moore received recognition at the highest level for one of her performances. She won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. She won Best Actress at Critics' Choice. She lost at BAFTA to Mikey Madison, but she still has a very good chance of winning at SAG. And for her spectacular career best performance in The Substance, written and directed by Coralie Farja, Moore still has a very good chance of winning Best Actress at the 97th Academy Awards. Why is Demi Moore such a legend in the entertainment industry? How did she get her start? What have been her most important movies? Has she ever gotten close to awards glory before? And what is it about The Substance that finally earned Moore her first Oscar nomination and may very well win her first gold trophy? My name is Brian Rowe, this is the Awards Contender, and it's time, my friends, for Demi Moore and the Elusive Oscar. To start, let's go back to the beginning. Demi Jean Moore was born November 11, 1962 to Mother Virginia and Father Charles. She grew up in Roswell, New Mexico and elsewhere until residing in West Hollywood, California by the time she entered high school. She signed with a modeling agency and enrolled in acting classes, eventually making her film debut in the 1981 drama Choices. After appearing in the 1982 horror film Parasite, she spent a couple years on the television soap opera General Hospital, her breakout role in the movies being the 1984 comedy Blame It on Rio starring Michael Caine. From there, her star status continued to rise throughout the 1980s, Moore appearing in the beloved coming-of-age drama St. Elmo's Fire, co-starring Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, and Ali Sheedy.
I just waited for one word from that woman about why my father hates me so much.
And she re-teamed with Lowe in About Last Night, which gave her her first major starring role in a film.
I'm gone. It's done. And you can go back to doing whatever you want to do.
By the end of the decade, she was a full-fledged movie star, still developing her craft to be sure, but she's absolutely a leading lady in films like Wisdom, opposite Emilio Estevez, and the horror drama The Seventh Sign. In 1987, she married Bruce Willis, who was on the cusp of superstardom with his role in Die Hard, and together they made an appearance at the Oscars in 1989 to present the award for Best Cinematography.
And the Oscar goes to Peter Bijou for Mississippi Burning.
So what was going to be Demi Moore's first massive blockbuster, her first critical hit, and genuine Oscar contender? Well, it finally arrived in 1990 with the beloved romantic fantasy drama Ghost, co-starring Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg about a man's spirit who stays behind to warn his lover of potential danger with the help of a psychic.
It's like I think about you every minute. It's like I can still feel you.
As Moore has talked about in multiple interviews, Ghost was in no way a sure thing. On paper, it appeared like it could be either great or a total disaster, with it blending so many genres, with the director of Airplane and The Naked Gun at the helm. But when Ghost opened in movie theaters in July 1990, it struck a chord with audiences, making more than $200 million in the United States and more than $500 million worldwide on just a $22 million budget. The critics were only semi-kind to the movie, but Ghost became a genuine phenomenon, and it marked Moore's first gargantuan hit. With the film being so immensely popular with audiences, was it possible for Ghost to be an awards contender? Absolutely. The movie's awards run began at the Golden Globes in January 1991, where it received 4 nominations, including Best Motion Picture, Comedy or Musical, Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical for Patrick Swayze, and Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical for Demi Moore. If you can believe it, until The Substance, Moore's Golden Globe nom for Ghost marked her only major individual nomination for a theatrical film. Yep, that was it. Did she have a chance to win there? Not really. There wasn't too much of a threat, I would say, from the other three women in the category: Mia Farrow for Alice, Andie MacDowell for Green Card, and Meryl Streep for Postcards from the Edge. But no way was Moore beating Julia Roberts for her breakout role in another 1990 box office phenomenon, Pretty Woman, Roberts winning in the category that night and eventually earning an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. Despite the popularity for Ghost and her damn good performance in it, I think what hurt Moore the most in a way of not going any further that award season was the knockout, scene-stealing turn from Whoopi Goldberg. I do think Goldberg, at the end of the day, did overshadow that Demi Moore performance. Goldberg won the Golden Globe and Best Supporting Actress, and then she went on to win the Oscar too, of course, thanking Demi Moore in her speech. Ghost received 5 nominations total at the 63rd Academy Awards on March 25, 1991. Alongside Best Supporting Actress, it also got into Best Original Score, Best Film Editing, Best Original Screenplay for Bruce Joel Rubin, which it won, and Best Picture. Because of that picture nomination especially, I would say until The Substance, this was the closest Demi Moore ever came to a potential Oscar nomination. I mean, she got the Globe nom, and Best Actress for 1990 wasn't overly competitive like it is in most years. She might have been in 6th place, maybe 7th or 8th. I mean, Swayze missed an actor too at the Oscars. It's not like Swayze got in. Sadly, it didn't happen for Moore that year, and she was going to have to wait a few more decades for Oscar glory. Now, that's not to say her star status dwindled at all in the years following Ghost. Despite a few stumbles along the way, Demi Moore remained one of the biggest A-list female movie stars of the 1990s, the actress appearing in one major studio hit film after another, at least for a little while. Before that happened, between 1992 and 1994, Moore did have kind of a rough 1991, appearing in a trio of flops: Nothing But Trouble, Mortal Thoughts, and The Butcher's Wife. All 3 came up short for audiences, although there is a special place in my heart for the underrated Nothing But Trouble, a childhood favorite of mine I still enjoy to this day. And so ultimately Moore needed another blockbuster. What was that film going to be? Well, it arrived in 1992, A Few Good Men, co-starring Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, about a military lawyer who defends 2 U.S. Marines charged with murdering another Marine. In a giant ensemble cast filled to the brim with men, Demi Moore plays Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway, who begins the investigation.
Sir, I'd like to have them moved up to Washington and assigned counsel. Someone who can really look into this. Someone who possesses not only the legal skill, but a familiarity with the inner workings of the military.
A Few Good Men opened in theaters in December 1992 to excellent reviews and more than $240 million worldwide on a $41 million budget. I'd say this movie is still a force in modern pop culture, mostly because of this scene.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
And at the time, it became Demi Moore's second awards contender, nominated for 5 Golden Globes, including Best Motion Picture Drama and Best Actor for Cruise, and it got 4 Oscar nominations, including Best Supporting Actor for Nicholson and Best Picture. Unfortunately, Moore didn't receive any major nominations for her work in A Few Good Men. Despite the film's popularity, her performance was never really singled out in the reviews, some considering her character underdeveloped. In his review, Roger Ebert said about Moore, quote, "I think the Demi Moore character was originally conceived of as a man and got changed into a woman for Hollywood box office reasons without ever quite being rewritten into a woman," end quote. I personally think it's one of Moore's best performances in the movies, the actress totally holding her own against all these powerhouse men and giving her character complexity and strength all the way through. A Golden Globe nomination at minimum, I'd say, would have been well deserved for Moore that year. In 1993, she appeared in another blockbuster, the deliciously entertaining Indecent Proposal, co-starring Woody Harrelson and Robert Redford, about a billionaire who offers $1 million to a married couple for one night with the wife, played by Moore.
You were dying to do it!
It's a lie! I would never do this for myself. It was all for you.
Don't lie to me! You were attracted to him!
From Fatal Attraction director Adrian Lyne, Indecent Proposal was yet another example of the steamy adult thriller that became a staple in the first half of the 90s. Big stars and sensual pulp stories that delighted the masses and became just as big of hits on home video as they were in theaters. Indecent Proposal was never going to win Oscars, but it proved yet again Moore could carry a film on her shoulders, get audiences to empathize with her and root for her. Made on a budget of $38 million, Indecent Proposal made more than $260 million worldwide. Wow. 1994 gave us one of my ultimate guilty pleasure 90s thrillers, an at times cheesy and ridiculous but very entertaining movie, Disclosure, co-starring Michael Douglas and based on the best-selling novel by Michael Crichton, about a computer specialist who is sued for sexual harassment by a former lover who goes on to threaten his life and career.
You want to put me on trial here? Let's at least be honest about what it's for. I am a sexually aggressive woman. I like it. Tom knew it and you can't handle it.
Moore plays his vindictive, calculating boss, this film marking her first truly villainous turn, and oh my god, does she have fun playing the conniving Meredith Johnson in Disclosure, who thinks she's invincible and can get away with everything. Now, even more than Indecent Proposal, I would say, Disclosure had no shot at serious awards. It's such an endlessly silly movie in a variety of ways, but despite some shortcomings in the narrative, Moore is an absolute blast to watch, and the film was once again a big hit with audiences, making more than $210 million worldwide. So by the mid-1990s, Demi Moore was on top of the world, appearing in 3 blockbusters back-to-back in a marriage with one of the biggest action stars in Hollywood. There really was no way to go but down at that point, and sadly that is what happened to Moore over the next couple years, the actress playing the lead role in the 1995 adaptation super flop, The Scarlet Letter, the heavily panned thriller The Juror, and what proved to be her biggest disaster of all, Striptease, for which Moore earned a then record for an actress, $12.5 million. Let's face it, so many people wanted to tear Demi Moore down at that point. She was too beautiful, too successful. She was paid a boatload of money to play a stripper in a big summer studio film that flopped with audiences and critics everywhere. And so by the end of 1996, that's what happened. Her star status quickly faded as Moore reached her mid-30s. Now, she did do some better received projects at the time, like Now and Then, which she's barely in, Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, in which he provides the voice of Esmeralda, and the HBO TV movie about abortion, If These Walls Could Talk, which earned Moore 2 Golden Globe nominations, one for her performance in the film and one for producing it. But Striptease, yeah, that absolutely stopped any momentum her career was having at the time, the film only grossing about $100 million worldwide on a $50 million budget, and winning 6 Razzie Awards, including Worst Actress for Moore and Worst Picture of the Year. Critics excoriated that movie. Many audience members stayed away, and Moore found herself at a crossroads. Where was her career going to go from there? Well, she was about to take a break from Hollywood, one that would last about 6 long years, but before she took a step back, she made one more big studio film in the 90s, and this is a great one. G.I. Jane, directed by Ridley Scott. Moore plays Lieutenant Jordan, who joins the U.S. Navy Special Warfare Group and tries to prove her worth in a unit filled with men.
You're not getting anything out of me. You might as well just put me back in the cage.
Also starring Viggo Mortensen and Anne Bancroft, G.I. Jane marked what is to date one of Moore's most exciting and commanding performances. The actress always the center of this captivating action war drama. This was unlike any performance she'd ever given, and she excels at every moment, Unfortunately, the film flopped at the box office and received only so-so reviews from critics. Maybe being released in the wasteland of late August 1997 hurt the film. Maybe it was the title. For whatever reason, audiences didn't show up. Moore had another box office disaster on the resume, and after one final appearance later that year in Woody Allen's Deconstructing Harry and shooting the indie drama Passion of Mind, Moore took a step back from Hollywood to focus on being with her 3 daughters, especially as her marriage to Bruce Willis came to an end. She reprioritized her life and didn't make her acting career her focus for a while. Over the previous decade, she'd had a fascinating run of acclaimed blockbusters, giant flops, and yes, a pair of big awards contenders, Ghost and A Few Good Men. But as the 21st century began, where was Demi Moore's career in the movies going to go next? Could she still be a big star, like on the A-list? And could she ever deliver a performance in something that would be universally lauded and awarded and get her one step closer to that elusive Oscar? At the turn of the century, I can't imagine too many people thought an Academy Award nominated performance was even possible for Demi Moore. She was a very popular film actress, but rarely taken seriously, as Moore talked about in her recent Golden Globe speech.
30 years ago, I had a producer tell me that I was a popcorn actress. I made that mean that this wasn't something that I was allowed to have, that I could do movies that were successful, that made a lot of money, but that I couldn't be acknowledged. And I bought in, and I believed that.
It was the sad truth of that time for Moore, especially in the 90s. The only awards she was getting nominated for, at the most part, were at 2 ceremonies, the MTV Movie Awards and the Razzie Awards. At the former, she received nominations like Most Desirable Female for Indecent Proposal, Best Villain for Disclosure, I do like that one, and Best Fight for G.I. Jane. Her one win at the MTV Movie Awards, Best Kiss for Indecent Proposal, shared with Woody Harrelson. So yeah, I'd say the industry wasn't really taking her seriously. And then also look at her string of nominations and wins at the Razzie Awards that decade. 7 nominations in just a few short years, Moore nominated for Worst Actress for The Butcher's Wife, Indecent Proposal, and The Scarlet Letter, before she won Worst Actress 2 years in a row, first for both The Juror and Striptease, and second for G.I. Jane. She won Worst Actress at the Razzies for G.I. Jane. That is crazy. The industry seemed to be attacking Demi Moore for all of her success, and so all eyes were on her to make the next move as the 21st century rolled around. What was going to be her big comeback? Would it be an awards contender? Oh no, not in the least. That comeback, as it turned out, was Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, the big 2003 summer sequel in which Moore plays a former angel and the ultimate villain.
Kill or be killed. Exciting, isn't it?
Boy, was it great to see Demi Moore back on movie screens again, even one as excessive and silly as the second Charlie's Angels. She still had that presence, that sense of joy and play in her performance. She got another MTV Movie Award nomination for Best Villain, and yes, she once again won a Razzie, this time for Worst Supporting Actress. But who the hell cared? Demi Moore was back, and she was going to continue challenging herself with a variety of projects, big and small, in the movies over the next 20 years. Now, unfortunately, let's be honest, many of these films Demi Moore has made fell deeply into an abyss. I mean, have you seen Happy Tears from 2009? Or LOL starring Miley Cyrus? Or Forsaken? Or Blind? Or Love, Sonia? Or Songbird? Or Please Baby Please? I could go on. Moore has been working pretty steadily since her return to film with Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, but sadly most of her movie appearances, I'd argue, went almost completely unnoticed. She did team up with Kevin Costner for Mr. Brooks and Michael Caine for Flawless. She was still working alongside some big movie stars and large movies, but the only real award success Moore has seen this century up until recently was for 2 ensemble films, 2006's Bobby and 2011's Margin Call. Bobby, which stars a who's who of major actors and tells of the night Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated, received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Motion Picture Drama and a Best Ensemble nomination at SAG, for which Moore attended. It also gave her a memorable scene alongside another 90s A-lister, Sharon Stone.
You know, the only thing that I get nervous about is whether anybody's gonna show up or not.
You're Virginia Fallon. Of course they'll show.
And then Margin Call came along 5 years later, that film exploring the early stages of the 2008 financial crisis. Like in A Few Good Men, Moore holds her own, surrounded by a large ensemble of guys.
Obviously, looking back, it was expressed with insufficient urgency. But your point was passed on. I need you to know that.
Margin Call didn't make it to SAG, but it did get an Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay and 2 wins at the Film Independent Spirit Awards, Best First Feature, and the Robert Altman Prize, the latter of which Moore shared in. But yeah, that's pretty much it. In the last 20 years, only Bobby and Margin Call have really been notable works of cinema starring Demi Moore. And so by the early 2020s, her career appeared to be on life supports. Even Moore herself has said recently that she thought about hanging up her hat as an actor, that maybe her time in the business was coming to an end. But then, oh boy, along came The Substance, which changed everything. Shot in Paris over the course of about 5 months back in 2022, this film wasn't really on anyone's radar until its splashy world premiere at the 2024 Cannes Film Festival. The immediate reaction was through the roof. People absolutely went bonkers for The Substance. They loved it. And maybe most exciting of all were the rave reviews Demi Moore was getting in the starring role, the kind of reviews she'd never received at all throughout her career. I wasn't able to see The Substance until September, but I knew pretty early on I was in for a most special film, and a very special Demi Moore performance, the movie telling of a middle-aged actress who takes a cell-replicating substance that creates a younger, better version of herself.
She didn't respect the balance. She's stealing more and more time from me, completely without consideration to the consequences. She's a selfish bitch!
Part Death Becomes Her, part The Fly, The Substance marked writer-director Coralie Farge's impressive breakthrough, a movie that deftly blends a variety of genres, has so much to say about aging and the entertainment industry, and manages to stay wildly entertaining every step of the way. Demi Moore is perfectly cast, still beautiful as ever, of course, but starting to see her minor flaws and wanting desperately to be prettier, younger, more desirable. Margaret Qualley as her 20-something counterpart is Moore's equal in every way, ferocious, funny, committed to this crazy story, but it is Moore's performance you most take away from the movie. The way she commands the screen many times without any dialogue at all, when she looks like herself at the beginning, when she starts to unravel physically and emotionally, when eventually she is totally unrecognizable. Her courageous and vulnerable and totally bonkers, amazing turn in The Substance has delighted moviegoers all over the world, and for good reason. I mean, that crucial scene in front of the mirror when she's getting ready for the date, it is astonishing. Maybe the best scene in the whole movie. How without dialogue, without another character in the space, Demi Moore completely holds your attention and you cannot look away. It is something else. And so for many of us in the fall of 2024, the question became, could it happen? Could Demi Moore be a major awards player for The Substance? I doubted it for the longest time. As terrific of a job she does in that movie, I assumed because of the body horror elements, especially in the gruesome third act, that it wasn't going to happen. That Moore would join the likes of Toni Collette and Lupita Nyong'o and Elizabeth Moss and Mia Goth and so many others to be snubbed for a fantastic performance in a celebrated genre movie. But no, That's not what happened, as I'm sure you well know by now. Demi Moore has been nominated in Best Actress at every major ceremony, and although she did lose BAFTA a few days ago, she has won at the Golden Globes and she won at Critics' Choice.
For anybody out there who is still on their journey, still struggling to find their way, trying to get a script made or whatever it is that you do, because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it isn't happening. So just stick with it and know that dreams do come true. Thank you so much.
It's still anyone's game. I mean, it could be Mikey Madison at the Oscars. It could very well be Fernanda Torres, who is definitely putting up a fight right now and could take the gold trophy. But it could also totally still be Demi Moore. For an actress who has never gotten her flowers during award season until now, after 45 years in the industry. For an actress who just a few years ago thought about leaving the profession because she didn't feel she belonged anymore. And for a performance like that, in a movie like that, it's just too cool for words. The Substance can win big at the Oscars. It can win in Best Makeup and Hairstyling. It can win in Best Original Screenplay for Coralie Farja. And yes, it can win Best Actress for Demi Moore. It's been like a dream, really, for fans of hers who have yearned for years, for decades, for her to get a great role in a great movie. And it's finally here. It happened. She's got the narrative, she's gorgeous, she's talented, she's overdue, she's Demi Moore. And on March 2nd, she has a very good chance of winning that elusive Oscar. A popcorn actress? A popcorn actress? Screw that guy. She is so much more than that, always has been, always will be, a part of so many wonderful films going back to the 1980s. Demi Moore has always been one of my favorite actresses, and whether she wins the Oscar for The Substance or doesn't, I hope this means great things for the future of her career. Demi Moore, we love you, and we are so thankful you got the role of a lifetime in The Substance.
And so today, I celebrate this as a marker of my wholeness and of the love that is driving me, and for the gift of doing something I love and being reminded that I do belong. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what have been some of your favorite Demi Moore films and performances. Do you think she's winning the Oscar for The Substance? I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.